We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email John at nufcmatters.com to arrange today.
Talking to myself again, but it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you,
good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters, the three amigos, to the perfect way to kickstart your summer weekends. Good evening to George, who is busy watching something on his phone. Good evening to Mitch, and good evening to Steve. Steve, I am going to start with you first, mate, because you were working a very special job this week, mate, and I can see by your smile on your face that you've had a great time. Tell us a little bit about it, what you can tell us anyway, mate. Tell us who you were working for and what you were doing.
Let's just say, if you look over my shoulder, you can see the Born in the USA program from 1985. And I was very, very lucky this week to be working for the company that I work for, looking after driving around Bruce Springsteen, the E Street Band. A life's dream, Steve, to meet your hero. And, you know, we have many heroes, football heroes, musical heroes, people that we idolize over the years. And having met Bruce in 1981 and then to get the chance 43 years later to meet him again, but actually spend time in his company and in the company of Max and Gary and Roy and little Stevie and Niels as well, was an absolute joy. It was something I never ever thought would happen. Sitting in the car with them, chatting, talking about life, talking about Newcastle, talking about what the differences were between Newcastle and Sunderland. I told them all, as you can imagine. I laid it on thick. I explained they were in the wrong place, and if I had my way, I would be driving them to a different city, to a different stadium to watch it. No, honestly, Steve, a fabulous time. Absolute gentleman, and also the crew that were with him. Fred and the boys who were there looking after us and looking after them. Just a fantastic experience, Steve. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, as I was there as a punter, I've got to be honest, I am very jealous of the fact you got a chance to meet Stevie Van Zandt, because obviously I'm a big E Street Band man, but I'm also a big Sopranos fan. And I think if there was a toss-up between meeting Bruce and Stevie, that is the person I'd like to meet. I'm sure we'd have a lot in common, and I'm sure we'd be able to have a lot of conversations. But listen, fantastic that, and well done, mate. I'm glad you managed to achieve your dream, and I've met a lot of my heroes. Great to hear you've met one, and they haven't been disappointing, Steve.
No, absolutely, Steve. I did suggest that they opened the song with the gig with Meet Me at Mary's Place, and we all sang "Let It Rain, Let It Rain, Let It Rain." But they chose a different song, as you know, Steve. But I think every classic was played on the night. I got in as well, and I managed to see.
I saw that.
Gig. I was just on the other side to where you were. I noticed when we compared photographs, but I think everybody enjoyed it despite the weather.
The biggest compliment I can pay Bruce and the band is that I didn't notice it was raining after he came on at 20-8, and it was fantastic. And credit to Nexus, they by leaving the ground at 20-11, I was back home by 12 o'clock, and that's a testament to how well a lot of people slate Nexus in the metro, especially, and people have got a right to complain if things aren't working properly. But I've got to be honest, the Great North Run, gigs like Springsteen, that they always seem to come up trumps, and they do well. So no delays for us, and a job well done. And Bruce was that good that I've booked to see him at Wembley in July, so I'm looking forward to that as well. AC/DC at the start of the month, and Bruce at the end of the month at Wembley Stadium for me. Wow. Two great gigs. Looking forward to both of them for different reasons, but fantastic. And Blue Rhythm Boy says, does Clarence still play saxophone? Sadly passed away, Blue Rhythm Boy, but his son plays saxophone for the E Street Band just as well as his dad. Honestly, if you get a chance to see them, folks, please do. Mark Bayer says, chuff for you, Steve. You're a great bloke and it's well deserved. I hope you told Bruce Springsteen they do something with seagulls. I can't quite make that out because I'm sitting in the dark. I'm not dancing in the dark. I'm sitting in the dark. It's because my internet is poor, guys, and everybody out there. I'm not hiding from you. It's just that my internet's not great today, and it'll just be pixelating the picture. So if it improves tonight, I will come back. Dean Charlton says, that's unreal, Steve. I'm a lifelong Boss fan. I was at St James's Park in '85, age 9. I am very jealous. Simon says he never saw the end of The Sopranos. We're going off on a tangent like we sometimes do here. And anybody else making a comment about Bruce? No, we're not. Okay, we can get on to the football at long last. Well, go on, George. Go on.
Yeah, heroes of our family.
Yeah.
Because he gave 20 grand to the miners' wives.
Miners' strike. Exactly, yeah, 100%. Never forgotten.
I'll just say, Steve, as well, you're talking about The Sopranos, but if anyone's watched The Sopranos, then go the other direction and watch Lilyhammer. Watch all 3 seasons of Lilyhammer. And then you get to the final episode of the final 3rd series of Lilyhammer when the surprise comes. I'll not spoil it.
No, don't, but it's great.
That is, and if anyone who's watched the one with Sylvester Stallone. That's basically a rip-off of Lilyhammer.
It is, yeah.
It's been known, but Lilyhammer's far better.
Yeah. Now, Mitch, there is a question from Andrew, and we all want to know the answer to this, mate. How is the thumb, Mitch? Because you've had an absolute...
How is the thumb? Well,
you've had a Tony Blair this week, haven't you?
That comes off tomorrow, hopefully. Yeah. And hopefully the bit of the thumb that they reattach doesn't come off with it. That's what we're waiting to find out. Effectively, what happened was I was cleaning a bloody coffee pot, a cafetiere of all things, and the glass part shot out, and instead of just letting the bloody thing smash, I caught it. Well, as I caught it, it shattered and it julienned my thumb, basically. Took about an inch and a half off the right-hand side, to about 1/3 of an inch depth, so much so you could see the ligament. You could see the ligament moving. So I kept the bit. They put it back on. They had to take a bit of glass out from inside as well. I knew there was a bit of glass in there, but I also knew leave it alone because there's some really big arteries in that area. And sure enough, as he took the bit of glass out, it squirted in the nurse's face. So everything's been put back together, and I'm just waiting to find out tomorrow where we'll go from there. Some of my thumb's still numb, and it probably will be for a long time, but I can live with that. It can't actually do anything at the minute. I don't even know how bloody Mickey Mouse goes for a piss with hands like this. I can't do a damn thing. So I'll be glad to get hopefully the splint off in a smaller. Yes, it was an impressive gash, Mark. Hopefully get a smaller dressing on, and hopefully I can start work again on Monday, because nobody needs a 9-fingered dentist, basically. But, it is what it is. It was just one of those things. Stupid bloody. Like I say, I think an England cricketer would have been impressed with the catch, but in future, I'm just going to let things break.
Yeah. Well, we'll wish you well, mate. Keep us updated. I'm sure you will on the show. At least you can thumb for a lift, says Stephen. Anyway, always look on the bright
Well,
side of life.
I'm
Sunderland's got
going
an
on the end of season boat party with the Dubai Mags tomorrow, and I'm thinking of going down as Captain Hook.
Well,
yes.
that strap on the bottom said that Sunderland people have 9 fingers. They don't have 12.
Yeah. Okay, we are going to talk football tonight, and as always, I think most of you who tune in, over 500 of you watching across Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook tonight. Thanks already for joining us. If you're watching on one of those other platforms, please jump onto YouTube at some point tonight and hit the subscribe button. Newcastle in Australia, of course, travelled across there. A 1-1 draw with Spurs. And, should have been a 1-0 win because Madison handballed it. If VAR had been involved, it would have been picked up and that goal would have been chalked off. There's no doubt about that. A 1-1 draw, a penalty shootout win, 5 penalties out of 5 for Newcastle. The impressive thing about that, George, for me, before we get on to today's game and the complete overreaction by certain people, the game against Spurs, I thought was great. And I'll tell you why I thought it was great, because it was a chance for 78,000 Australians to, and expats to go and watch Newcastle United play and to get up close and personal with Newcastle United and their management and some of the owners and ambassadors. But it also gave them an opportunity to watch them play. And it also gave them an opportunity to, see a few of the youngsters coming through. And the youngsters who came through ended up on the pitch together at the end of the game and scoring penalties and winning the penalty shootout. It also gave Newcastle United an opportunity to help their FFP by making money. And if the figures are believed, and I covered this slightly earlier in the week, but I want to reiterate it, Newcastle probably made more on that trip than Manchester United or Manchester City will make from winning the FA Cup final tomorrow. So for me, job done. If we want to jump onto today's game, an 8-0 reverse against a team of all-stars. I don't want to be rude here, but I don't know who those people are. I've never heard of them. In fact, the Australian Rye, who I do the breakfast show with, he's never heard of most of them either because he doesn't follow that game. So it's men against boys, and that's what it was. It was Newcastle United in name only. It was more or less. It was the equivalent of putting Newcastle in the pizza trophy with Sunderland a few years back, when Newcastle United's juniors went down to the Stadium of Light with a backing of 2,000 of us. I was there, and we played their first team in the Papa John's Trophy. It was exactly the same as that. It was a meaningless game other than it ticked a box. It got people in. Now, for me personally, having seen the result and seen the game today, I wasn't upset about it. I shrugged my shoulders. I guess if I had been an Australian Newcastle fan and I hadn't got to the first game and I got into that today and I'd paid X amount of money for it, maybe I would have been disappointed, but I'm not. So I think there's been an overreaction by certain people today, and that's what I want to talk about. But I don't just want to talk about that today, George. I want you to talk about the trip as a whole. You can, of course, talk about today's game as well, but let's keep it sensible on this platform. That's what we always do. So over to you, George. What's your thoughts on the Australian trip?
When it was first decided, and so quickly after the end of the season, you had to scratch your head and see what the hell's going on here. Well, they've answered, haven't they? I mean, anybody that had any queries about it has been well and truly shut up. And on a personal note, it just so happens that one of my old secretaries, Lisa Ngani, her husband got his company sent him to Australia a few years ago, and they live in Melbourne, and so they've loved it. They're from Ashington, and so you can imagine what it's been like for them actually getting up close to the team and all the management and all that sort of thing. So the feedback I've been getting is it's been, if it hasn't been a huge success, I'll be surprised, because the Ngani family would be telling me straight away. So it's done what it said on the tip they were going to do. And as regards the game, you're absolutely right. It was a 1-0 win, which was another fluky thing against us. But for once in our life, we want to shoot a penalty shootout. And the other thing that came across for me is how our manager again showed his maturity and his man management when he interrupted the TV interview with Gillespie to say how much he thought about Gillespie. Now that he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to do anything. But the fact that he went to trouble and did it and took the microphone off them and said, look, you all talk about the lads that play every week. Well, I see this lad every day. And he's very important because they can train all alike. But if they haven't got somebody to shoot at, it's a bit of a waste of time. And he's always up for it. So, if Gillespie's looking for has to look for a new club, he should take that bit of tape as his reference because it was superb. But again, it showed the maturity of our manager and how he's handling himself and all the rest of it. I thought we played very well against Spurs. It was never a game we're going in danger of losing. It was always us on the ascendancy. And it was just a sin that Maddison should get away with a handball to get the equaliser. But again, like you, it was good to see the young'uns get involved and scoring penalties. It was super. But in terms of the whole thing, the whole exercise, as you say, the financial side of it, absolutely incredible, absolutely unbelievable. And if Newcastle had turned that down and it come out that we had decided not to go, we would have been getting absolutely pelted from every corner of the world, and rightly so. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And the reaction of the players, they obviously enjoyed it. And of course, when the penalty shootout was one big Dan Burn ran the length of the pitch to get hold of Gillespie, which apparently it was Murphy that dared him to do it. So again, you're seeing the spirit in the squad that stays with them, and I enjoyed that. As towards today, I wasn't too bothered about today, except to allow those youngsters, bear in mind, average age 20 with Gillespie in goal, and he's what, 29, 30-ish. So, the average age must have been much lower in terms of the outfield players. The only sad thing for me is that what good would it do them kids to get a thumping like that, to their confidence? But that's a minor thing that can be repaired over time. But the rest of it, success and it may be, and that money in the bank could well be the means of we're buying an extra player sometime down the line because of the FFP thing, and it just makes an absolute mockery of the whole thing in many ways. But we did it, and I'm glad we did it. So and we showed ourselves up to be with it. And as I say, my personal information from people that was there, that I know it was there, absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved Newcastle United. And of course, they're right next to Collingwood, Australian rules football team. Well, anybody that sees me going to the match on a Saturday, I wear a black and white scarf that says Magpies. Well, it is a Newcastle United scarf. It's a Collingwood Australian rules football Australian football scarf. And if you're looking at the tie-up between the two, well, it's easy. Founded 1892. Like where? 1892. When I was in Australia and I realised all that connection, and of course the real connection is miners and setting the whole things up. But great success, and delighted it went forward, and delighted it went for the team and for the management, because the people were looking over their shoulders and wondering why we were doing this. Well, they've answered all the questions, and the playing staff and the management stuff have come out of it well as well. And good job, everybody.
Mitch, we've got to get used to this. I mean, we've got Germany coming up with the Adidas HQ in the summer, and then we're off to Japan. There's going to be more of this, so people need to accept it's part and parcel of being a big club.
Look, the amount of money we've made off this trip alone, if it is true that it's going to bring in more than the winners of the FA Cup is going to get, at a time when everybody's also wetting their knickers about potentially selling players, when so-called experts, who are no more expert than me and Steve, by the way, yet some of them get held up as, oh, he knows everything about accounts and football accounts, are saying, oh, well, they're going to have to sell, they're going to have to. If that puts some of that to bed as well, it's a no-brainer. I'm seeing a hyperbole after today, seeing some people who have platforms using words like PR disaster, and it's a disgrace, and it's this and it's that. Wind your necks in. Today's result is tomorrow's chip paper. And everybody, for the most part, apart from those in the village of the damned down the road who like to bring all sorts up from the past, and maybe one or two individuals who support other clubs might find it vaguely amusing. I did find San Marino's chipping in a little bit amusing today as well. Aye, let's have a game, but we'll put our first team out there. Let's see how long you last. You know, and so, as you know, with my involvement in the supporters club here, I'm on 2 or 3 global networks of WhatsApp groups with supporters club around the world. And I had a little chat with Jack Stanley, who does the Toon Under podcast. He's one of the Toon Under pod guys, to ask him what his opinion was. And I'll actually read the message out. I said to him, do you mind if I share this without taking his thunder away? He says, I travelled from Brisbane and couldn't care less about the result. It was the most meaningless of meaningless games. Our kids get hammered regularly in PL2 anyway, so they really didn't have much chance against senior players from a pro league. This week in general has gone well, considering the farcical timing. The club have done a couple of well-received events, and tens of thousands of Aussie-based mags have had a chance to connect and had a very good time. Wednesday's game was absolutely epic by all accounts. Everybody who went says it was an amazing atmosphere. Does that sound like bad PR to you?
Nope.
Because it certainly doesn't to me. And that's what we need to be focusing on. That's what we need to be focusing on. Yes, I know Trippier came out and criticised the timing. You know what? As an experienced pro, he's got a right to do that, I think. And I think that's fair enough. I think the players who got that timing on the pitch, there was certainly tacit agreements between the manager and some of the players about how long they might play. I believe some of the players are already on their way here to Dubai for a few days. And so, you know, that's the end of the season. And like I said before, most of them will be tucked up in their beds back at home before the Champions League final finishes, and everybody's fretting about it when it sounds like it's been anything but a PR disaster, and it sounds like it's made with a canny bit of coin in the meantime. And so let's try and spin it the other way while people are wetting their knickers. I get it. I get the upset. The timing is farcical. I mean, really. But yes, part of big club mentality. Now, the trip to Japan. Let's see what kind of income that brings down the line. Because there's links already happening between Saudi Arabia and Japan on many levels, global energy and global economy. I've also noticed some of the J-pop groups are coming out wearing football shirts all of a sudden. How long before one of them's in a black and white?
Yeah.
Probably not very long. Because some of them have agreements with Adidas and want to showcase the Middle East. These are the kind of things that you just don't see that could bring income into the club on a much bigger scale. And that's the scale we've got to be thinking. If we remain parochial, if we remain bothered only by what the bloody Mackhams are doing, we'll only ever be the biggest club in the northeast of England. We'll never be anything more than that. And maybe it's time, as the game is global and our owners are not local, I think we have to understand some of the global economics at play. It mightn't sit well It's certainly not traditional. I would agree. I also agree it's really madness flying all the way to Australia after a long season like we've had. But the reason they've done it is the financial recompense has obviously absolutely 100% been worth it to the club. And I think that's what we've got to understand.
Steve, your thoughts on the trip to Australia?
I think the lads have summed up from a Newcastle United point of view the situation very, very eloquently. I'm going to use some of what I heard in midweek on your breakfast show, Steve, when Rye was talking about the trip, and he put a different slant on it. And as he pointed out, football, soccer, whatever you want to call it, in Australia is on its backside. And what they needed was a massive opportunity for those who are tinkering around the edges of football to get the chance to see Premier League football live, which is what they got in the first game, which was obviously Newcastle United v Tottenham Hotspur in front of 78,000 in a stadium that holds 105,000, by the way. That's how big the Melbourne Cricket Ground is. But it was very much a promotional thing for Football Australia and the Australian Football Federation, or the Australian Football League, or whatever they call it. And he made some excellent points on the show, Steve. The very fact that football, like in America, football is the third sport, after Aussie rules and cricket, just like it's fighting in America behind baseball, American football, and basketball. And the clubs are dying. They're not getting the attendances. The clubs are dying. We've seen Newcastle Football Club in Australia go bankrupt and looked as though it was going to collapse and disappear off the face of the earth. So this was a big opportunity to boost football in a positive way, to give it the kickstart that it needs, and it probably is on its last legs. And this is something that, because the game was played quite competitively, that it might just sort of excite the promoters and the people with money to get behind the game. So that was the purpose of the first game. The second game, well, we saw from the team that they put out, it was the youngsters. I think that Newcastle had made a commitment to certain players that they could leave early. You've got the lads who were involved in internationals. You've got the Brazilian lads, and Joe Linton went because he's getting married. Bruno and Almiron went because they've got the Copa America, which starts and runs at the same time as the Euros. Trippier probably stayed because A, he's club captain. B, our other club captain was unavailable in Jamal Lascelles because he's injured. So he's there with a commitment to the football club as the captain to be seen around the squad. And he hasn't played apart from one starting game and coming on once, I think, towards the end of the season for 5 minutes. So just that extra little bit of training probably did him the world of good. Some people might criticize and say, you know what, being on a plane for 24 hours there and 24 hours back, not such a good idea. But I think that'll all been worked out. As for the result of the juniors game, which is what it was, I've always been critical of the academy and critical of some of the way that the youngsters are brought through. I think an 8-0 defeat wouldn't have done them the world of good. But I understand that a lot of our more established youngsters are in Hong Kong for the competition that's taking place over there. So there's probably an excuse that can be placed on an 8-0 drubbing. It was youngsters v, as someone described to me, hardened Sunday League players who would kick the living daylights out of any kids given the opportunity. But we've seen it before and we've seen it again. Let's just sort of ride along, take it for what it was. It'll have made a decent amount of money from the club. Somebody asked how much. I read that we're talking, 8 figures, £3 million, something of that nature. That's what was put up. And as we say, just having Newcastle United out there and just trying to get give the opportunity for expats to watch the game, to see and mix and wander around in their black and white shirts with other fans is a huge positive. And we could criticise, but would we had exactly the same reaction if we'd gone to New Zealand, or if we'd gone to the west of America, or if we'd gone to South Africa, or we'd gone somewhere in the Middle East? You know, that no matter where we'd gone, somebody would have pointed the finger at us for one reason or another. And as Mitch says, we are the target for every hack going, whether they're a sporting hack, a political hack, or just a hack, to really have a dig at Newcastle United for everything and anything. And this was just another thing, and we just ride over it because we're big enough to, we're sensible enough to, and we're brave enough to. So we just move on as fans, and the club will too.
Big shout out to Michael Ray. He sent us a couple of videos from inside the stadium, and he had a great time. I think there was a bit of Mitch Penman drinking done as well by the tone of the messages. I think they were following in your footsteps, lads. But well done. Great to see you had a great time, and that's what it was all about. The Australian trip. Forget the football. Forget the results. It was about that. That photo encapsulates exactly what it was all about. Well done to Newcastle United. Delighted that everybody out there has had a good time. Safe journey home to the lads. Let's hope they enjoy their time off and come back fully fit and ready to go in the new season. Okay, as always on the Amigos, we have plenty to get through. Let's have a little bit of this. There's been a lot of these come in this week. Don't call me Shirley. Oh, it's quite a good one to start with. They did go downhill a little bit after that. I had this one. Congratulations, it's a Sith, which is a baby, one of those 4G baby scans, which does unfortunately look like a Sith from Star Wars, which again, original. I think people then on the Star Wars bandwagon from Ray, Jabba instead of Abba, going down the weird lookalike route. We then had this one sent in because the Steve Hasty dog thing was rekindled a couple of weeks ago. So we've got the broccoli Steve Hasty dogs.
Dear.
Fantastic.
Which I tell you what, there's a lot of effort gone into that.
I'll say.
And I mean, it deserved to be shown in its entirety, not as individual broccoli dogs. But there you go. Couple of more basic, down to earth ones. One from Ian Russell. I see Hasty's been for a spa day. maybe it's a see him spa day when you were looking at
see him whole spa day.
This one's from Chippers. He says, this is Steve Hasty after his haircut. I cut the hair around my dog's eyes because it was getting long and blocking his vision. So now, what does it mean when my dog looks at me like this? It means it looks like Steve Hasty, says Chippers.
It looks like it's got a wig on, doesn't it?
It does. This one was from Steve Middlemas. He says, Mr. Hasty, after a night on the Toon.
Aye, a night out with you, Steve, that.
Bit of Malverno. And this one's from Jimmy Wilson. Oh, look, Steve Hasty's on.
Aye, Jimmy.
Now, I don't think he's saying that's a lookalike. I think more or less he's saying that the cat's a fan of you.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, I think that's all for the lookalikes of Steve for now. There might be one or two others kicking around. Tom, Iker Casillas, and Sean William Scott.
That's a good one, that.
I'd like to see the way the photo is like pushed together. It probably gives it quite a misconceiving angle like that. This is another one from Tom. Adnan Januzaj and Macaulay Culkin. There's a little bit of a likeness there, Tom. Not bad. Tim, I've got no idea who the guy is at the top. Tim,
that's the Prime Minister of Holland, Netherlands, isn't it? The Netherlands.
Yeah.
Ah, right. Okay. So, and the other one, obviously, Stephen Mulhern from Anton Deck and In for a Penny and all of that. Okay, this is another one from Tom. Jermaine Pennant and John Legend.
I know where he's coming from. Yeah.
Yep. And Stephen Kennedy. Lewis Hall or Phil Collins. It is Phil Collins, but he's saying that Lewis Hall looks like Phil Collins at that age, which is pretty good. That
was Phil Collins Oliver Twist.
I'll tell you what, he's got the look of him. He's got the look of him.
I think he starred as Oliver Twist on the West End before he became an artist, a drummer and a singer.
There you go. You learn something every day. Nico Cranshaw and Killy the Dwarf from The Hobbit. See, Tom's been busy this week.
Yeah,
And Kevin Spacey and Jeremy Clarkson. I'm not sure about that one, to be fair. I'm not sure what Kevin Spacey.
That's Bob Mortimer.
Bob Mortimer. It is. Geordie Jackson, Sneaky Dan and Smeagol will be coming to him. Don't worry. We'll be coming to him. And we're coming towards. Oh yeah, we've still got a few more left. This one. Oh yeah, we've said that one. This one is from. Miley Cyrus seems to be putting these. We're getting sent these all the time. Are people making these up? I'm not sure who that kid is on the left, but she certainly does look like.
That's from Waterworld, isn't it? That's Waterworld.
Yeah. Is it Waterworld or is it Mad Max?
Mad Max.
It might be Mad Max.
She might have been in both, Steve, because it was both. What's his name? The
Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson. Yeah, yeah.
Right. This one's from Tim again. Henry Mancini and Andrew Neil.
Yeah. I can take that one.
And he's gone for another one, which is this one: Mancini and Phil Collins.
Yeah,
wow, that is good.
It is.
Yeah. Melly Barnes is featured this week. David Cook says Melly Barnes and Ramsdale in a snood. Very specific with that one, David. Ramsdale in a snood.
Yeah.
Sutty, Brendan O'Carroll, and Barry McGuigan.
That is good. That
is good.
Yeah. That is a lookalike.
Yeah, because Brendan O'Carroll is Mrs. Brown.
Mrs. Brown, yeah, Mrs. Brown's boys. Coming towards the business end now. This is another one. Amanda Security Guard and Triple H. Two good ones from Sutty. And this one from Kaz. Lookalikey. Jim Rat Tramp and Cat Weasel. Wurzel Gummidge, of course, and Sir Jim Ratcliffe.
Enemy number 2.
Yeah. Top 3. Number 3 from Jimmy. Stu Penman and Darth Vader.
Darth Jägermeister.
He said that's Stu the morning after Jägermeister.
Classic. Oh, Jimmy.
At number 2, Milburn, Big Dan Byrne, and Canadian actor Christopher Heyerdahl. It's a smile.
Stretch it a smile. Yeah,
it's a smile.
Yeah,
it's a smile.
A bit.
The eyes are similar. But I put that at number 2. Number 1, there was only one winner this week, Mitch. Steve Bennett. Looking forward to seeing Steve Bennett at the end of the season. He's bought his tickets. Mitch and Patrick Moore. Fantastic. Brilliant stuff.
Well done, Steve. If
you've got a lookalike, get yourself onto our Facebook group or our Facebook page. Hit the like button or hit the join button. We're starting to build up a really good community on there. Nearly 9,000 on the Facebook group in particular. So please feel free to jump on there. Leave your lookalikes on there, or at Steve Wraith on X, and I will pick them up and stick them on the show next week. Thanks very much. Thanks to Kev for joining up again. Good evening to Kev. Busy at the moment with his coaching job, but great stuff. 17 months from Kev. If you want to join the channel, then please just hit the join button. It's $1.99 a month to join, and that just goes into the Malverno fund for when the lads are over here for us to drink. See, we're very honest about what we do with that money. Okay, questions for the Amigos. We've got a few lined up. Where do we go? Barry Hogan, I'll take yours first. Any update on the director of football? I'm glad Friedman didn't get it. Hoping for bigger and better. Okay, let's encapsulate Barry's question, George. We'll talk about the director of football in general. Newcastle aren't making they don't seem to be making much of a noise about this. They're going about their business quite quietly. They're not saying yes. They're not saying no. I've got to be honest. I wasn't very disappointed to hear Friedman wasn't coming. I did laugh a few weeks ago, as we all did, especially on the professionals, when we were told by journalists that Maldini wasn't even in the frame. Is he still in the frame? Who knows? Especially with Ben Jacobs, who I've got on the show in the morning at 11 a.m, going big on other platforms, saying that there's a more experienced, internationally renowned director of football in the pipeline. Sounds like Maldini to me, but it might not be. It might be. It might not be. Whoever it is, they're going to get the right man for the job, I think, George.
Yeah, and I agree. And everything that Friedman's done just suggested we dodged a bullet to me. You know, he's not covered himself with any glory at all. Because to enter the fray for a big job like that and drag the whole thing out suggests that his aim from the end was to get a pay rise. Nothing to do with getting a Newcastle job at all to me. That's my opinion. Yeah, I think we dodged a bullet there. We dodged a bullet. As to who it should be, well, there aren't many football directors of international reputation going around, and the best one's the one that you lads have been talking about since it started. And it would be brilliant if it was Maldini, as far as I'm concerned, and would be good on lots of levels. But you just cannot fathom. Well, you can fathom. It's just spite against Newcastle United. If there's something negative to get in all of this, some of the journalists will find it, won't they? And if they can't find it, they'll invent it. It just beggars belief that the fact that somebody's decided to stay with it where he was because he's got a nice big pay rise seems to be our fault for some of them. Well, it's not our fault at all. There's no question that he really ever really interested in leaving Crystal Palace, and not the sort of bloke we want around our club. I don't think. If it's Maldini, hooray, 3 cheers. But what you said at the beginning, Steve, is right. They're keeping their powder dry. They're saying very little and keeping their cards close to their chest and all of that. And then when it's ready, they'll announce it. And it could be a surprise to everybody. But there's one thing certain. They're not going to be caught with a duck egg of any description or colour. And whoever it comes, I think will be a surprise and will be giving a lot of energy to the club. It needs an international person. You know, we've just been talking about not being parochial. Well, we don't want to be parochial about our director of football. We want somebody that can walk into a stadium anywhere in any continent, and people immediately say, "Oh, there's the director of football in Newcastle United. What's he doing here?" That's what we want. So the lads are right. We don't want to be parochial. Those days are long gone. So let's have somebody who's recognised wherever he goes, who can walk into the Bernabeu or the Nou Camp and have all the staff and the management there scrambling around to see who they think he's looking for. That's who we want, and I'm sure that's what they're trying to do. So not sad about Friedman at all. In fact, very, very relieved.
Mitch, director of football, spoken about it before, but I mean, it's still a waiting game, isn't it? A lot of people suggesting Friedman might have used Newcastle as a bit of a pawn in his game to get a bit of an improved deal at Palace.
No, I don't see it as that way. I had a little chat with Craig Hope about it this morning. Funny enough, I think Friedman's very much in a role within a multi-ownership group where he gets lots of support, not just from the chairman, but from Texter, who's the part owner of all the clubs. He's in a comfort zone with the level of control that he has. My understanding is he wasn't necessarily sure about certain elements of the role in terms of who was in control and who was holding purse strings and answering to people in PIF. Well, we don't want that. That's not the deal. That's not how it works for us. And so if you're not comfortable with that, thanks for your honesty and see you later. That's fine. I don't have any problem with that whatsoever. I think the club very much have certain individuals in mind, but then it's up to us to match those expectations and deliver what they want and come to some sort of working agreement. And I think Ashworth's role will actually be replaced by a couple of people. I think you'll see something local and something more global, perhaps. And again, maybe Friedman didn't feel comfortable with that as a potential, setup. So I think you want people who are all in and all on board with the project. And if they've got any doubt, a la the outgoing candidate, then we don't want them in. And I'd rather they were honest with us and said, no, I don't feel comfortable with that. So thank you very much. And then we move on and everybody moves on amicably. And that's how it should be. That's how you do. You approach Palace. You act properly. Absolutely, Benny. You act properly. You go about it the right kind of way. And then you end up with the right people in the right place. There's no doubt about that. And I think my dad makes a good comment that I would want somebody in the role who could walk in any ground in the world and people go, oh, hang on. Newcastle's director of football's here. What's going on? That's the kind of cachet I would want us to have. And we can either get that through building the reputation of the club as we are, or we can get that through appointing an individual who makes people's heads turn no matter where he's working. So I think that's the top and bottom of it. Has it affected our summer plans? No, because it's been made quite clear that other people are directing things for the summer. Yes, it would be nice to have someone in place by the end of the summer. Maybe even before the transfer window's closed, but he's not going to have any influence on that transfer window. I think that's looking further down the line. So there's no rush. I still don't think we're in any hurry or any time pressure, and we shouldn't just jump to an appointment because we need someone. That will be a disaster too.
Steve Nixon's a name in the frame at the moment, Steve Hasty, because he's the man. You know, he's the man in control at the moment. He's the man in charge of recruitment. And I guess, you know, with the first two deals, you know, potentially already done in, you know, 2 free transfers through the door in Tosin Aradabayo and the guy from Bournemouth. I think from our perspective, you know, we can get on all right without one. There's no rush.
Yeah, Steve Nixon's merely fulfilling the role that he had all the way through the Ashley regime, which is manage the ins and outs, the scouting network, and using his contacts to identify players and bring them up to the board and to Eddie Howe and his team and saying, you know, there's this, let's have a look at him. A lot of this stuff that Steve Nixon does is long term. This is what he's been doing for years. I remember sitting in a fans forum where somebody asked a question about incomings and outgoings, and Lee Charnley explaining that, you know, sometimes the club was operating 3 transfer windows in advance in terms of the targeting, then watching and seeing how a player develops. So I think that's very much the way that we're operating at the moment. I think one thing we've got to remember, we still do have a director of football in place. He happens to be on gardening leave. But until that's resolved, I don't think Newcastle United are going to jump and appoint somebody. I think that's the bit that sense we've been forgotten, because we're also in a litigation situation with Manchester United over Dan Ashworth. We've got in one breath somebody, you know, in Manchester breathing down our director's neck saying, come on, be decent, let him go, it's ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. And in the other respect, we've got a guy who decided he would sign a contract, a man whose job it is to get footballers to sign contracts and stick to contracts, who suddenly was very, very eloquently put by Simon Jordan, suddenly forgot what a contract's all about. A contract is a period of time for which you're employed by an employer, and that's got a date on the end of it, and that's where you're employed until. And if you want to get out of it, you go and negotiate and buy yourself out, or you come to some sort of agreement. You don't just go away and go, I'll find somewhere else to go, and then go, I found a new job, let us go, will you? That type of thing, which is what he's done. Very naive. Newcastle United are quite within their rights to do what they did. They're now screaming, and he says that putting them on gardening leave is tantamount to sacking them. A lot of the stuff that's come out in the newspapers this week is obviously the defence mechanism that Ashworth's putting up, probably prompted by legal people at Manchester United to try to counteract the fact that there's been a couple of mistakes being made. We've seen it with the emails allegedly that were sent to the wrong place, etc., etc. As for Dougie Freedman, Yeah, I mean, Dougie's done a slow and steady job, I think, at Crystal Palace over the years. They haven't gone out and lashed out big money, but they've had some very interesting signings. There's been some duds among that over his tenure, but name a sporting director who hasn't, or a director of football who hasn't brought in duds into his football club, or players that haven't quite matured. But I think the sudden rise of success in the sorry, somebody trying to ring us. What the hell are you doing? The sudden rise in success of Crystal Palace is down to the new manager, Glasner, who's come in, who's a very, very experienced coach, who's been able to get the best out of certain players remarkably well as well. A man who has a great track record, worked under Ralph Ragnick, who had a spell at Manchester United, ironically. Went to Wolfsburg, did well there. Went to Eintracht Frankfurt, won the Europa League. I think that was the season when Glasgow Rangers got the final a couple of seasons ago. So you've got a really, really good manager there. That I wonder how long he'll stay at Palace if he has, given the merry-go-round that's occurring at the moment. I wouldn't be surprised if he moved on very, very quickly. And I think Mitch is right. I think the club is going to go down a different tack to what some of the press are thinking about. I have a feeling that we will have more of a sporting director, an overall head, and I think we'll have a team under him. You notice that's what Manchester United are doing. You notice that's what Liverpool have done. This seems to be the way that it goes. You have someone who has the overall overarching responsibility, if you like, but has a team of their own below them. It's not just one figurehead. And I think there'll be a restructuring of the entire back room in the back room at Newcastle United that will operate, or the changes that will give them the opportunity to operate more professionally, but more globally as well. And I think that's where we're going. I don't think it's just a case of, you know what, we'll find a scout in a little village in South America, we'll stick a name in there and we'll get him a little office, or we'll have a flag coming out the top of his car when he drives to games so people recognize him. I think it'll be a lot more professional than that. I think we have to go down that line because of FFP and because of the profit and sustainability rules. We're going to have to scour the world for I was going to say bargains, but we're going to have to scour the world for talent. And we can't just keep dipping in to the same pool with the same agents who go to the same African village, or they go to the same place in Eastern Europe, or they try to pick up people from the same clubs in South America, because even those markets are changing, because clubs like Man City, Chelsea, etc., they're buying up football clubs around the world. And with that comes the attraction of people to get involved, and that's the helping hand. And I think that's where Newcastle United will head. I saw a little piece the other day about someone, wanting to buy a club called Vasco da Gama. We all know where Vasco da Gama goes. You can't get any further away than Newcastle in that respect. Right down on the tip of South America somewhere. But that's the fingers of and the talent pool that all football clubs are now aiming for. And hey, maybe that's why we went to Australia as well, and that's why we're going to Japan.
Yeah, maybe it is. Mitch, I'll come to you next because Steve's touched on Dan Ashworth, and there's a few people asking in the chat about Dan Ashworth, and it's a situation that's dragged on. There we go from Mark. He says, "What do the lads think of the Dan Ashworth situation?" Who else asked about him? Mark Slavin made an interesting point. Is there a risk that he was put on gardening leave because the club saw the errant email before he told them? Could this be seen as constructive dismissal?
And in that, Mark, you're buying the narrative that Man United want you to buy into. Man United want everybody to buy into that. We're the nasty men. We're the bad people. We're the ones that have done something wrong. When we've got a situation where it would appear that they've got one future employee on gardening leave, using an INEOS email to email a potential future employee on a different email from his club, while neither of them should have been talking to each other or Man United. That's the situation. Ratcliffe has made it quite clear he's quite happy to drive a coach and horses through anything and everything to get his own way. Dipping into the whole Wembley of the North fiasco so he doesn't have to put his own money into anything. And let's go back to where we started. Everything is eventually on the Glazers still. Whether they like it or not, they're still there. They're still making their financial decisions. It'll be them who don't want to pay the compensation. And Ratcliffe's having to try and find ways to make us look bad because they have a media presence on standby, ready to jump to their defence. The famous Man United, and this journalist will back them up, and that journalist will back them up. Whereas the reality is, we've got employees who should, like I say, should not have been talking to each other, should not have even been talking to Man United either. And they've been working this between them, and they've been caught. For a so-called genius, Ashworth comes across as a bit of a clown to me. You know, surely, dear God, one of the first things you do is you make sure you go through all your folders and you deleted everything. That's like basic. This 13-year-old boys could show you how to do that, mate. It's but the narrative that we're the ones in the wrong somehow, I find it amazing. But that's what they'll do. They're whining and they're griping because their FFP is not as rosy as people might think either. And so they don't want to be wasting money they could spend on players, on a piffling director of football. No, let's try and make the Saudis and Newcastle United look bad. I mean, God, have they not heard of burner phones? And, you know, it's not rocket science these days. But they're so arrogant that I guess they think they don't need to. And Steve was right in terms of what you don't often find me agreeing with much Simon Jordan says. But what Simon Jordan said about contracts was quite plain and simple. Quite plain and simple. And there's all sorts going on in this bizarre managerial money go around that's about to happen. What's happening with De Zerbi? Where's he going to end up? Just as he gets them firing, Chelsea sack Pochettino. That's a bizarre move. Again, we've called Todd Bowley out. He's a very intelligent man who understands FFP and finance, but he just doesn't understand the game of football. That's a move that somebody who doesn't understand the game of football would make. And so, again, we've got all sorts going on, but specifically Man United. As I say, I don't think it'll be long before some of them will be reaching for their green and yellow scarves again soon.
The other thing, man, we've got to mention there, Mitch, is with the one that you missed was the Ten Hag situation. He's going into a cup final tomorrow, and apparently the P45's waiting for him at 6:30.
In the press.
You know, and you think, but who are you going to put in? And that's about putting in the bloke from Ipswich, who used to be, and there it is, you know, and you're thinking, well, has he got more experience than Ten Hag, who couldn't shake this lot at Man United into action? And it's. Do you not think it's just a mad panic by all of these clubs? You know, the Arsenal, not Arsenal, sorry, but the Man United, the Tottenham, the Chelseas of this world, they're all flapping, they're all panicking, and it's happened, and they've changed all these managers since we suddenly started rocking up and shaking for them, you know. Yeah. And that's what makes it quite amusing. It's not going to be long before Eddie Howe's the second longest serving manager in the league.
Plainly ridiculous. Yeah. And did Man United think by disrupting Ashworth they would disrupt us? Because it sounds to me like what they've done is in many ways galvanise us.
Yeah, disrupted themselves.
Yeah.
George, I described it to one of my mates today. People were asking about the whole Ashworth situation. I was basically saying it's a bit like somebody who, you know, maybe cheats on their wife or their husband. You know, the trust's never really going to be there, George. And for me, the whole way that we managed to get Dan Ashworth to come to the football club was we tapped him. We might have tapped him up legally, but we got him from Brighton, and we had to pay a severance clause to get him from Brighton. So for me personally, there was never going to be, you know, if he wasn't going to be loyal to Brighton, what was the chances that he was going to be loyal to Newcastle? And no matter what comes of this, I just don't think Dan Ashworth comes out of this very well. Even if everything he did was by the book, the fact that he doesn't stay anywhere for longer than a year or 2 years because he goes to the next club with the next bit of money, I just think that shows. I think that shows a lot of his character. And like I say, he might have done something dodgy. He might not have done something dodgy. We don't know. We'll find out. It'll all come out in the wash. But either way, he just goes where the money is, George, and that's not a great asset, is it really?
Throughout the Ashworth saga, when it was playing out, I think I said on here and on other platforms that I was amazed that neither Newcastle board nor Ashworth himself was saying anything serious about what was happening. It was all just rumor and circumstance and all the rest of it. Well, I think it was rumor because Ashworth knew he was on his way and he was playing a dirty game. The difference with him coming us and Manchester United's approach was we paid up, we accepted, we wanted him, and we paid the money and smiled. We didn't wriggle like people are caught with their fingers in the toffee jar. You know, we actually paid up and accepted that we wanted him, so we'll take him. The other thing about him is that he's gone. He was from the minute that Ratcliffe and Brailsford, his right-hand man, went to Manchester United. I could have bet that before he signed, before Ratcliffe took the shares, there was talking with Ashworth, because Brailsford and Ashworth are best mates. I think they might even have gone to school together. And have a look at Mr. Brailsford's career and aspirations, and look at the way in which Ratcliffe deals with other people that work for him. Now, I happen to know people, fairly senior people, who work on the America's Cup side of what he does. Gosh, you want to hear some of the things they say about their contracts and compare it with what's been said about Ashworth. No, it's he's you know, how can you have respect for a man who chases everything and wants to give nothing? Because that's what he's done. That's what he's doing. He's chasing everything, wants to give nothing, and moves to Monaco to avoid paying £43 million worth of tax. Can you trust a bloke like that? No. So I've got no doubt about it that Ashworth's been caught doing something he shouldn't have been, as Neil said, talking to people he shouldn't have been talking to, and talking to Manchester United when he shouldn't have been talking to. And that will be the end of it. The big positive for me is we're digging our heels in. We're not caving in like we used to. We're saying, all right, take one, please yourself. You know, you go to arbitration, you do this, you do that, and we'll stand by what we've got. And I think Ashworth could find himself quite embarrassed if it goes to real arbitration, because if there's one set of emails, I guarantee there's another going around the corner. And yeah, Neil's right. The basics, you know, you leave, and to leave a paper trail, never mind the emails, a paper trail back to your own front door about what you're going to do or what you'd like to do. Well, it's tantamount to committing suicide. And as Neil's right. I don't agree with Simon Jordan often, but he was spot on, just said it. What did you sign your bloody contract for? You knew what you were doing. That was his words, I think. And he's absolutely right. And too many times people, particularly in football, get away with being awkward and difficult to get out of contracts. Well, the people are starting to see that that's not Newcastle United anymore. Be as awkward, as difficult as you like, but all you'll end up is on garden leave. You'll not win, and that's absolutely. I'm delighted that we've taken that approach, and I think somebody said it on the strap before. I think it'll not be long before Manchester United fans get sick of Mr. Ratcliffe, because the they're not going to see any money going into players. He doesn't have that sort of money. Yes, he's a billionaire, but it's all tied up all over the place in everything he does. He hasn't got, he can't do what one of our directors did the other week and upset them all and bought a £37 million share. he couldn't do that because he hasn't got that nice petty cash, because it's all nicely tied up. What he's doing is great. Don't get me wrong. I admire some of the things he does. And certainly in my world, in the marine world, the stuff he's done with the America's Cup has been absolutely incredible. But he wants it for now. And he ain't going to get Newcastle United for now. No, nothing we do is for nothing now. And long may it continue.
Yeah, I think the other thing you've got to remember as well, George, is that you normally go to arbitration when both parties can't come to an agreement. Now, at the moment, Manchester United, when they did this everything wrong. It was Dan Ashworth who asked to leave when it was really Manchester United were trying to poach him, and Manchester United tried to do it through the back door. If you like, they didn't face up Newcastle United and say, "Can we have him?" That's all they had to do. So until Manchester United and Newcastle United face up to it, then there can't be any arbitration. And we are they're in the driving seat because they've got a guy who's got a contract, and arbitration is there's not enough negotiating gone on before you can reach arbitration, and Newcastle are within their rights, and they could turn around and say, we are. There's no reason why we can't drag this out. It's a joke.
Well, the other side of arbitration, I think, as I've said before on here, is that it's a double-edged sword. What you're dealing with at the moment is a civil matter.
Yeah.
Once it go to arbitration and some arbitrator, it'll probably be a judge, will make a decision, make a ruling, it then can become a criminal matter.
Interesting. It's one to watch. We are over an hour into the show. As always, these nights fly over on a Friday, even when there's no football to talk about. We're going to have an ad break. I just want to say thank you. We've got 863 watching tonight, over 580 on YouTube. That means the rest of you are watching on either Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter. Please, please, please go over to nufc matters at some point and just hit the subscribe button. It's free. It costs you nothing. And we do 7 shows a week. Okay, we will have a quick ad break. And then I've got a very special guest.
A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website skipsandbins.com, easy contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. Their website, mrvickies.co.uk, telephone 01768 210 102, or email info@mrvickies.co.uk. Thanks to United Group Travel. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. Their website, unitedgrouptravel.com, email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com, telephone 01670 632 460, or mobile 0791 666 4174. Thanks to Media Arts for the technical side of things. And you can also find us as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or other podcast providers. You can subscribe to the channel by hitting the subscribe button underneath this video. Hit the all notifications bell so you don't miss a show. Hit the thumb up to like the channel and click share to your social media. If you want to join the channel, then click join for as little as $1.99 a month. If you want to become a member, for a one-off £25 payment, email john@nufcmatters.com or go to membership at the website nufcmatters.com. If you've got a smartphone, hold your camera over the QR code and it'll take you straight there. We also help the food bank on this channel. Go to nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk to the matchday bucket and you can leave a virtual donation today.
And don't forget the end of season 2, 20th of July, 5 o'clock till late. And it's an evening with Supermac and Gibbo and with George and the Long Sands in aid of Dementia Matters. Tickets are a tenner, available from nufcmatters.com and newcastlelegends.com. And an evening with Rob Lee takes place with John Gibson on Friday, the 2nd of August. That's at the City Hall in Newcastle. And your tickets for that are available at ticketmaster.co.uk. Tickets for both events selling quite well, so get yourself on there. Okay, I did promise you a special guest, and the special guest tonight comes via my mate Davey. We've kept in touch on Instagram since the lockdown days. He's a fan of the show, watches the show on a regular basis, and he has kept me up to date about somebody who I would say is up there now with Alan Shearer. And the reason being that young Olivia, Davey's daughter, right, I'm going to read the message out that I received a few weeks ago. That's why I've got Olivia on. Just wondering if you'd give Olivia a shout out. She's playing for Bolton under 8s, but they play girls a year older in the under 9 Premier League on a Saturday and against under 8 boys on a Sunday. And Bolton under 8s finished 2nd in the league. And Olivia scored, wait for it, 124 goals. On the back of this, she was offered a 3-week trial for Durham Women Football Club under 10s Academy and was successful. Now, Davey, Dad, is very, very proud. She's a huge fan of the Amigos, lads. She watches every week. And beware, George, her football knowledge is unreal. Now, before we bring the young lady on, I am going to show you what all the fuss is about. Davey has kindly sent me these. That's the first one. What did you think of that, lads? George, you're an ex-footballer.
Brilliant.
What did you think of that one?
Brilliant. We never broke step to shoot the ball in the back of the net. That's a good sign. Brilliant sign. That's Jackie Milburn style, that.
Okay, goal number 2.
Oh, what a finish.
George?
Oh, and on a left peg as well. Didn't hesitate again. Straight into the corner of the net. Stroked it in. That's not just good goal scoring. That's good applying technique. Being able to stroke the ball like that rather than snatch it and swing it and it go anywhere. That's proper football in my estimation.
Okay, goal number 3. Here we go, George.
Same thing.
What did he mean of that one?
Same thing. Yeah, that's a technique that many players 10 times their age, not 5 times their age,
Never mind
struggle to take a free kick like that. And again, it's about style and getting the standing foot in the right place before you stroke the ball. And whoever's coaching that little girl deserves a pat on the back because they've been coaching well. One of the hardest things when they're very young is to make sure they get their feet in the right place to stroke the ball. And whoever's taught Livia's doing a good job.
Okay, well, put your hands together. Here she is with Davey. Well done,
Hi, guys.
Olivia.
Hi, everybody.
Aye.
Brilliant. Olivia, what a season you've had. Well done.
Thank you.
You've done absolutely brilliantly well. I mean, out of those 3 goals, have you got a favourite?
Probably my free kick.
Yeah.
The free kick, yeah. And do you have to do lots of practice to score goals like that?
Yes.
You do. Fantastic. Great stuff. What position are you playing and what position do you like to play? You play striker, I presume, with all those goals. Is that where you want to play?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why
And
not?
what's the ambition?
Yeah,
Do you want to play for Newcastle United women's team?
that's my dream.
Is it? Fantastic. Well, with goals like that, I'm sure that Newcastle United will sit up and take notice. So you've got a good knowledge of Newcastle United. I'm going to ask you first of all, who is your favourite player, Olivia?
Bruno Guimaraes.
Oh, Bruno.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Me too.
And George, have you got any questions for Olivia?
Olivia, do you still enjoy it as much? Are you getting fun out of it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And always enjoy it. If it gets to the point where you can't enjoy it, you need to think about something else. But judging by the way you're playing, you should be enjoying it, because just watching that's really, really set me up quite nicely. I really, long time since I've seen technique like that from somebody as young as you.
And have you got any advice? Have you got any advice for her, George? Because obviously you played football and you managed to pull on the black and white for Newcastle. Have you got any advice for Olivia?
Just work hard and listen to what your coaches are saying. Never think that you're better than them. Always listen hard, and then go away and practice what they're telling you. I had fortunately had I don't know where you live, but in the old house I lived in, it had an old wash house. And my father painted white circles on the wash house, back of the wash house. And we used to endlessly, night after night, kick the ball against the wash house. And he used to shout, left foot, right foot, top spot, bottom spot. And I used to have to do exactly what he said. But it stood us in great stead, because by the time I went to Newcastle United as a junior, I could play either side of the field. I could play right back, left back, I'd play centre back, I could play in midfield. And that was only through hard training, where I had to do what I was told. So always enjoy it, but listen to those that are training you.
Steve, I'm just looking at some of the comments coming in. Olivia's been compared to Alexander Isak, David Beckham, Ronaldinho, Gaza. The list goes on. What's your thoughts on that, Stephen? Do you think we've got a potential superstar on our show tonight?
Without a doubt. I mean, there's a touch of Kieran Trippier and Ryan Taylor over the wall there as well, isn't there? Absolutely brilliant. Yeah. Olivia, I'm just disappointed, Dad. Come on, you've shown us 3 goals and there's 121 to go. Where can we see the rest?
170 now.
She's actually on 170 now, guys.
Oh,
what?
Yeah.
You can have your own 90-minute video at this rate. They are tremendous. I mean, Olivia, I'm just watching there. You're 2-footed. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
You've got the balance. You can drop your shoulder. You can turn. As soon as you got that ball on your right foot for that second goal, and you immediately switched it, and you hit it, and there was only one place that ball could go. And you had the knack of being able to put that ball in the exact spot. You hit it high enough so that the keeper couldn't get near, and you did it as though it was natural to you. That's the first thing that we saw. Like to anyone who watched that, you put the ball in that was just natural. That's the sort of talent that Paul Gascoigne and Peter Beardsley had in abundance, and you're showing it at such a young age that I think the world's your oyster. You carry on playing in the manner that you're doing and putting the ball in the back of the net. It'll not just be Durham that are coming looking for you. It'll be Newcastle United, it'll be Chelsea, it'll be Man City. They'll be all wanting you. And I can see how proud Dad is for a start. But the next question is, where can we go and watch your pet? Where do you play? Where is the ground?
I play at Washington Hub, but I think now we're swapping to.
No, we're at Washington Hub still.
Washington Hub.
Yeah.
Is that on a Saturday or a Sunday?
Both. She plays Saturday against the girls and the boys on Sunday.
Brilliant. Well, I think the crowds might be doubled or trebled by the time that the sports haven't watched that, because the vast majority of people there are going to be talent scouts. I tell you. Well done, Olivia. Congratulations.
Thank you, Steve.
Mitch, what's your thoughts on young Olivia's talent? And 170 goals now. That's incredible.
Unreal. Special. That really is special. And like Steve says, there's some things I've seen there in 3 goals that you can't teach.
Yeah.
That's just in you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's just you playing on your instincts. And why you can play like that is because you're enjoying it.
Yeah.
And it's always got to be fun first, and everything else follows. And you just let the football do the talking after that. When I look at that free kick, you probably only had maybe the width of the ball to get that free kick in, and you found it all right. But that's also practice and application. Practice. Keep it fun. Then it becomes instinctive. But honestly, there's some things there you can't teach, and well done you. That's a goal tally that anybody should be rightly proud of.
Yeah,
Thank
we've got a
you.
proud dad as well. I think, Dad, I mean, from your point of view, seeing Olivia playing as she does, it must make you absolutely feel top of the world standing on that touchline.
I could pop with pride, honestly, guys. It's really good.
Yeah.
I love seeing it. And I love seeing the smile on her face when she does stuff like that.
Brilliant.
Is your dad a quiet supporter, Olivia, or does he get involved?
He gets involved.
Yeah. I remember a dad like that, or at least how Neil remembers a dad like that.
that nobody would stand next to on the touchline.
I know that feeling.
I used to take me two grandfathers, the couple of uncles, would go and watch Neil, and I was the only one standing on my own. They went the other far as away from me as they possibly could be.
Yeah.
What's been your favourite game for Newcastle this season, then, Olivia?
That's a tough one. There's so many good ones. Against Sheffield United, 8-0.
Yeah. We were on holiday, weren't we?
We were on holiday and we watched that.
In Turkey.
Fantastic. Good stuff, 8-0. And what do you think is going to happen in the cup final tomorrow? Manchester City against Manchester United. Do you think Manchester City will beat Manchester United so we can go to Europe again next year?
Yeah, Man City will win.
Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff. And what do you think of Eddie Howe as a manager?
Very good. I think he's going to take us Newcastle to the top level.
And what do you think of Becky Langley?
Very good still. She's going to take us to the top as well. She's already has.
Exactly. Well said. She already has. And I think there's only one way we're going to carry on going with Becky in charge, aren't we? There's a young girl that lives across the road from me. She plays for Sunderland. She's 17. To give you an idea, I mean, playing football all like her brother, challenging her brothers in the street and at the bottom of the street, and then getting into the Sunderland team. And now she's hovering around the first team. But she's actually played for Northern Ireland, and she's played for England schoolgirls and stuff like that. And it just shows you that's the way that things can go. You know, the world's your oyster, pet, in terms of the talent that you've got and how you can take it forward, and you just carry on enjoying it. I think George has reiterated that on a couple of occasions already. You know, you're doing it with a smile on your face. Paul Gascoigne did it with a smile on his face. Peter Beardsley did it with a smile on his face. Alan Shearer, I mean, you can't get anyone better than that in terms of striking a ball and scoring goals. But you're up there with them, aren't you, already?
And Olivia, it'll for the rest of your life, you'll have lots of happy memories. I mean, I didn't get to where I wanted to be through injury. And yes, that upsets me a little bit. But I still got lots of memories about the players I met. At 15, I walked into a dressing room and suddenly discovered I was playing in a team that was managed by a man called Jackie Milburn. I could hardly breathe. I was so excited. It took us nearly 20 minutes to put my boots on because he was in the same dressing room. And going to games where they'd bring players into the dressing room at half time. Now, I'm going to mention names that you won't know, but I bet your dad can remember. I met people like John Charles, Billy Wright, Stan Cullis, mega stars in football. So they're memories that still stay with me, and I would never have got if I hadn't played football. So enjoy it, and you'll have some lovely memories for the rest of your life, buddy.
George, you also had a bit of a battle with Billy Bremner at one point, didn't you?
Oh, I wasn't going to mention that, yes. 1957 New Year's Day, south of Scotland played the North of England boys, and I was in the North of England side. That really wasn't true. It was the Scotland team, full Scotland team, against Northumberland. The Northumberland County took the mantle of North of England, and in the Scottish team there was a right winger who was causing all sorts of problems. Well, I started the game at centre back, which it's my school days. I was big enough to be a centre back, and Billy Bremner was causing the left full back so much trouble, and staff running the Northumberland team knew I played left back as well, so they shifted me to left back to look after Billy Bremner. Didn't do any good. Give us an absolute runaround, which I've never forgotten. But I'm really pleased that I actually could say I played against a man called Billy Bremner.
Yeah, fantastic. There's a couple of questions and a couple of comments coming in for Olivia. You've probably seen them on the screen. Yano would like to say, how many games have you got left, and have you got a goal total that you're aiming for?
We've got 2 games left in the Spring Cup. Got one tomorrow, and then we'll play Washington Lionesses later in 2 weeks. How many goals are you going to try, and do you think you might get?
In total, or out of them 2 games?
In them 2 games?
Tomorrow, I think 3 tomorrow, and then Washington 2. Maybe 5.
Maybe
5, okay.
Modest 5.
175 goals. That's what we're hoping for. You'll have to let us know, Davey, whether she gets them. Sean says,
I will.
Olivia, the only way is up. Great to see young smiley talent. Amanda, get on the phone.
Yeah.
Keith says, do you know more about football than your dad, Olivia?
Tell the truth.
And Gary says, it's great to see young talent getting recognised. Good luck for the future, Olivia. I look forward to seeing you play for the ladies team, which is fantastic. And Sean says, scoring is the hardest thing to do. Olivia, keep working hard and you'll be a future icon of the North. And we love a number 9. Davey Eddie says, I hope all your dreams come true. All the best, Bonnie lass. And lots of other comments like that, which is absolutely fantastic. Benny says, not many people can say, maybe I'll get 5 goals in the next 2 games and actually sound modest. So there we go. Before we go, have you got a favourite show? Because I know you watch the channel, Olivia, with your dad religiously. Have you got a favourite show? Is it the Amigos?
Yeah.
Why do you like the Amigos?
I like the lookalikes. And sorry, Steve, but it's when the dogs come over.
I knew you were going to say that. You're supposed to say, I just like cats and dogs.
And when Keith is on it, his laugh is crazy.
Well, we might have Keith on next week, as he said he would come on at the end of the season for the season review, which is next week. So what we might do is we might get Keith on, and we'll hopefully our friends who are watching in tonight will send in plenty of dogs and cats. You will have to send a dog and cat in. You'll have to send a lookalike in, Olivia, and we'll make sure we'll read it out. Doug says love Olivia's competence. Which is
it's not just Keith's laugh that's crazy. Keith is crazy.
I hope you have a great career, young lady, says Peacock.
Yes,
as well.
Yes.
So there you go. So, Davey, thanks for keeping us in touch. Keep us updated. And Olivia, as always, you're always welcome on the platform. We're sorry it's taking so long to get you on, but I think today was the right day because we're coming towards the end of the season and because of your wonderful goal tally. And good luck. And what we'd like to do is, if you and your dad and your mum want to come along to the end of season to come and meet all of the guys and Super Mac and Gibbo. There's going to be a few other people there as well. If you'd like to come, it starts at 5 o'clock at the Irish Club. What we'll do is I'll keep in touch with the dad. You're more than welcome to come along, and that will be good for you. So you can come and meet everybody face to face.
Oh, no hard questions for Ask George, mind, Olivia.
Exactly.
Olivia section.
Well, good luck in your final games, Olivia. Thanks for coming on.
All right, thank you.
Bringing her on, Davey. Take care, mate.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Bye.
All the best.
Well done.
Brilliant stuff. Great to have Olivia on. Thank you. Thanks to Davey for keeping in touch with us and letting us know. And we're pleased that they're big fans of the show. As I say, this is what the NUFC Matters community is all about. We've always had great support from everybody out there. And Davey and Olivia have been big fans, since we started. So thanks very much. Good luck to her. I'm sure she'll go a long, long way. And I'm sure we'll have her back on in some point. Okay, we've done the lookalikes. So unfortunately for Olivia, she's not going to have any more laughs at that.
Steve, how old is she? How old is
she? She plays for the under. She plays for the under 8. So she's 8.
So 8. I mean, ridiculous as it sounds, in 10 years' time, she could be playing for the Lionesses.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Exactly. Amazing story, and an amazing tally of goals. All right, plenty to get through. Here's Tweet of the Week. This really is part of the show that we could probably do 2 hours on, because I constantly get tweets now from everybody, and I have to be very careful what I put on. Dougie Morris, thanks for yours this week. I've picked a couple. I've got a date with a woman who identifies as a wheelie bin, but I can't remember if I'm taking her out on Tuesday or Wednesday, he says. Thanks, Dougie, for that one.
Yeah.
Soda Bob Kid says, based on my Saturday morning cartoon education, there's either a coyote under that boulder or the paint on that tunnel is still wet. I think that's all of our childhoods. And another one, I sure feel my age. I ache all over. I feel like a newborn. No hair, no teeth, and I just peed my pants. I think we all feel like that from time to time as well. Here's a council estate fancy dress couple. And some more names on Facebook. Bob Sharuncle and Fanny Sharant.
Very good.
People, I'm sure now, are just making these profiles to get them, but it's still funny. Cantona and Best, this is a good one. John Fury telling Tyson Fury he's winning reminds me of Gary Mason after a bad round. Gary's trainer said, "Great, Gary, he didn't lay a glove on you." Gary replied, "Well, keep an eye on the ref because someone's kicking the hell out of me." Jimmy Moore, a good one as well. Hey, Arsenal, upon further review, the ball was out. Better luck next year. Love, Newcastle United.
Brilliant.
And my pal's ex just left him and took his Bob Marley CD and his Skybox. Now he's cutting about the house singing, "No woman, no sky."
Oh, dear me.
Good singing one. Yeah. Me looking for a midnight snack. I can't go to bed on an empty stomach.
No, you can't. Good God.
And my friend Joe recently went on the Dolly Parton diet. How did it work? It really made Jolene. Brilliant. Some good singing ones this week, people. Thank you for these.
Yeah, but did you notice that the Ben didn't mention that this was our favourite section? The singing.
Yeah, you're right. For those about to fish, lads, a boat named ACDC. Very clever. And if you sit on the toilet at 11:59 and the clock strikes midnight, it's the same crap every day, lads. And during labour, the pain is so great that a woman can almost feel what a man feels when he's got a fever.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Arsenal's new club badge has been unveiled. And statistics don't lie, lads. Average duration of a phone call. Boy to boy, 59 seconds. Boy to mum, 50 seconds. Boy to dad, 30 seconds. Boy to girl, 1 hour, 23 minutes and 59 seconds. Husband to wife, 3 seconds. Mum to married daughter, 10 hours, 50 minutes and 59 seconds. Wife to husband, 14 missed calls. I just sold me home and pigeon on eBay for the 22nd time. And we don't like to say accidents, lads, but this one, the caravan, sorry, lads, this was a good one.
Oh,
it's good, isn't it? Wafer biscuit there. Hi, sweetie, can you Photoshop this pic of my parents and bring the cow closer, please? There you go. Ah, dear. And Hannibal Lecter's advent calendar for Christmas has arrived.
Oh, crikey, Moses. Gary.
And police are still looking for the smart ass who painted a tunnel under this bridge. Another Roadrunner joke. And so I slept with 3 guys before I met you. Christ, I was only 20 minutes late. And that face when you see your rod tip twitch.
Oh, dear.
And convicted of murder. Look at Winnie the Pooh's face. It's Christopher Robin. And Rick Astley for Prime Minister with the election being called, lads. He'll never give you up. He'll never let you down. He'll never run around and desert you. He'll never make you cry. He'll never say goodbye. He'll never tell a lie and hurt you. Julie, I hope you enjoy that when you get back in tonight. The awkward moment when you show up at the wrong Rebel War reenactment. Tickle George, that one. And time to trim the hedges at the Canal Museum, lads.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
I like this one as well. Bought this drone off a bloke in the Black Garter. I can't get it to take off.
Guilty.
And I just downloaded the Titanic soundtrack today, lads. It's syncing right now.
Oh,
Classic Dougie. And this one, a modern day take on Sleeping Beauty. Not allowed to kiss her now, are you?
No.
Getting air horn. And Ian Hull, did you hear Julie Andrews will no longer endorse cheap lipstick, lads? It crumbles easily and it makes her breath smell. She explained, the super color fragile lipstick gives me halitosis.
Oh, Steve.
Yes, we've had a few this week. Characters whose plans always fail miserably. Dick Dastardly, Tom and Jerry, Wile E. Coyote, and Rishi Sunak.
Yeah.
And a couple of cartoon ones. Disturbing the Peace, Possession. That's what they're in for.
Oh.
And excuse me, but you're resting on my laurels, says one Roman to another. And another one from Jimmy. Pretty sure this cat knows Kung Fu. And these are on sale in America. Hairy, tasty pink balls. Thanks, Jimmy. Seriously, that's as classy as we can get. Couple of Star Trek ones as well for all you Star Trek fans out there. Thursdays are so depressing. If you think Thursday's a bad, wait 2 more days. It'll be Saturday.
Oh,
Saturday.
And when I was a child, I used to enjoy making sandcastles with my grandfather. That sounds really nice. Yes, until my mother made me put the urn back on the mantle. And Albert Einstein was a genius, but his brother Frank was a monster.
Oh.
And a cartoon Spock today, the Vinyl Frontier.
I like that.
You like that one, yeah. And last one for this week from Soda Pop Kid from Star Trek. Have you seen the Dog Bowl? No, but he's pretty good at skating.
No.
Getting inundated with them. Okay, last few. One of the last coal-powered sheep. Most sheep are electric now. And excuse me while I put away King Henry VIII's milk. Sell by date 1538, October the 23rd. Chelsea, Liverpool and Arsenal have all submitted bids for the Alan Shearer statue, and Man City are interested in signing the Angel of the North. That's coming off the back of all of our players being linked going elsewhere. And graffiti removal guy actually came back and discovered somebody put up an image of him removing the graffiti.
That's brilliant.
Brilliant, isn't it? And this
looks
is Phil.
Almost like a Banksy, that.
It is, yeah. This is Phil. His case weighed too much on his EasyJet flight home from Benidorm, so instead of paying the fine, he put on every single item of his clothes. He wore 13 shirts, 2 pairs of trousers, 4 pairs of shorts, and 5 pairs of pants. He could barely walk by the time he got on the plane, and he was sweating so much he had to strip off, leaving the whole plane in stitches. Phil, just packed properly, lad. The person put. That was brilliant. This one as well. NUFC linked with Nice defender. Daniel put, how do you know he might be a divvy for all we know?
No.
And in loving memory of Harry Fiddler, also his wife Fanny. Must have been one hell of a guy for her to take his name. And how did your first camping trip as a family go? Me. Wife stabs husband with squirrel. Name that song, lads. Stop.
Time.
And Ian Hull, thank you for calling the Sex Pistols advice line. However, there's no point in asking. You'll get no reply.
No.
See, we've been inundated with singing ones this week. Last few. You know, the day destroys the night. Night divides the day. Try to run. Try to hide. Break on through to the other slide.
Oh, that's
And this one, so Jim Ratcliffe drops to 4th in the list of wealthiest UK billionaires. David says, if he's dropped to 4th, that'll do absolutely nothing at all for me. In fact, I'm holding on to my position, which is quite well. He put himself forward for Tweet of the Week. It didn't win this week, I'm afraid. There's an average wardrobe in most people's houses.
Yep.
I think we've all been there as well, lads. And Domino's Pizza introducing our new Hurricane Trophy Pizza.
Oh. Christ.
And the top two this week, Europe, the final condom. I'm not singing the song, but there you go. You get the gist, lad. And the winner this week is from Ray. My doctor said I've got to eat more fish. Thanks for that, Ray.
Oh.
If you've got a tweet you want to send it to us, then please get onto our Facebook group or our Facebook page, hit the like or hit the join button, and I will try my best to feature them next week. Lots of people asking about transfers. Ben Jacobs is on in the morning. So Lloyd Kelly and Tosin, we will speak about that in the morning. We'll also speak about Mama, the goalkeeper, Stephen. So tune in for Ben Jacobs tomorrow. Lots of other people asking about that as well. Bradford, Moore, YSA. We'll ask Ben all of these questions. I think there's quite a bit to talk about with Ben tomorrow morning, so that will be interesting. We've already spoken about Dan Ashworth. A lot of people asking questions about Dan Ashworth as well this morning. Really, just want to focus now on on the cup final tomorrow as well. The cup final tomorrow is, for me, it's Manchester United, it's Man City. George, but ultimately it does mean that if Man City beat Manchester United, Newcastle are going to Europe. So the question I'm going to ask you really is, do you want to get to Europe this year, George? We've talked about it before in the past.
Yes.
Now it's only Europa Conference. Would you rather dip out and have a good season next season with the FA Cup, the League Cup, and the league, and not have the nuisance of playing Thursdays and Sundays? Or would you like to be in Europe?
I'm still a greedy little duck. I'm afraid I want it all. Look at the pinnacle for players. Let's concentrate on players. The pinnacle for players is to say they've played in Europe. And if we're saying we'll duck out rather than do this and do that, then what does that say to players coming in our direction or even thinking of coming in our direction? No, I want to see us in Europe if it's at all possible. And I'll be very disappointed if Manchester City don't slaughter United tomorrow. I really would. But no, the basis of your question is not hard for me to answer. Yes, please, Europe all the time. It's given us over the years since we started to get involved. I just think of the great nights we've had as fans. We got into the Fairs Cup by fluke. Everybody said, "Whoa, it's because of this rule and that rule and that rule." Well, Joe Harvey's team took it by the scruff of the neck and had a go and won it. And everybody thought, well, hey, this is not bad. And then as time went on, think of the Barcelona nights. I think of one of the biggest nights that I remember is Setúbal, Setúbal from Portugal, who came, and just before the match it snowed, and most of the Setúbal team hadn't even seen bloody snow, never mind play on it, and the ground staff went out with brushes and brushed the lines clear. And the Setúbal players were following behind and kicking the snow back over the line, so the referee would put the match off. And they ended up with a row where one of the Setúbal players tore the collar off the referee's shirt. I mean, you don't get that in a normal day of football. I want more of that at St James's Park, please. Let's go native and have some European football. It matters to me. It matters should matter to everybody, but most of all, should matter very much to the players. Those that are there and those that are wanting to come here will notice whether we take part or not. So I think that's as good a reason to go and do it, if any.
Mitch, I mean, I was speaking to Melly Bonds this week on the North East Footy Brekkie show. Obviously, Manchester United fan, Geordie lad from Ashington, but he said he'd rather not go in Europe this season. I mean, I don't know whether he's just setting himself up, for the inevitable defeat tomorrow. But
sounds like a little bit of bravado to me, mate.
He'd rather not be in Europe, certainly not Europa Conference, because he just says, he'd rather have a season of rebuild. But
everybody thumbing their nose up at this Europa Conference. Did West Ham thumb their noses at winning trophy?
No.
Did Jose Mourinho get upset about getting to the final of that when he was at Roma? No. Why? It's European football. It brings a level of experience where we could potentially give squad members' experience of doing something they've never had an opportunity to do before. As a club will grow, as a club will go forward, and as everybody gains from these experiences, we need to change our mentality as a club and become winners. And you know what? If it starts with a win in a European Conference League that no bugger else seems to be bothered about, so be it. I take it. It counts. Counts just as much as any other silverware. And to dismiss it puts us in the category of Man City, where Man United, where they disrespect competitions. And no competition should be disrespected.
Yeah.
I think it's an opportunity, you know, for us as a club to grow in some interesting ways. That's a bit, in my opinion, and I'd say it if he was sat on the programme here, Melly's doing a little bit of bravado before he gets beaten in the cup final. You know, it beggars belief for me, for us in a position where we are, where we've not had any silverware of any kind since '69, to turn down a journey in a cup that, okay, well, maybe he's not going to Dortmund and PSG. Well, maybe he's going to the arse end of Kazakhstan and you know, places we might not have heard of in the Baltic states. But so what? That's the joy of European football, or so it should be. And so, for me, buy into it 100%. Bring it on. Let's have a way into the competition and see where we go. On a selfish basis, if it means we then play more games on a Sunday, happy days for me. But at the same time, you know, to thumb my nose up and get upset about being in a European competition, I think is churlish of us, where it's not that long ago. Europe would have been a pipe dream. Saving our asses from relegation was all we could do. And I think it's almost embarrassing to see people react so quickly to turn down a place in Europe.
Yeah, I would agree. Safe journey to Mozza and Alan. Alan, get well soon, mate. He's not been well for the last couple of days. So safe journey back. They've had a delayed flight as well. They're at the airport. They've been listening to the show. And happy birthday to Jopper as well in the chat, who is 21 again. Happy birthday, Jopper. Yeah, Steve, Europe. You know, would you like to see Man City hammer Manchester United tomorrow and get into Europa Conference, or would you like a year off?
No, I want to see us. I want to see us playing in 4 competitions again next season. I want to see Eddie Howe test himself in European football again. I want to see the players test themselves. I want to see the club itself start to get into that mindset that European football is the place where we have to be, whether it's the Europa League, the Conference League, or the Champions League. We went out of the Champions League to the 2 teams who got into the semi-finals in Dortmund and PSG. That shows you that the level of football that we're playing, and I think only one of those 2 teams actually deserved to win and take the points off us in that little group, the so-called group of death. I thought we outplayed. Well, we definitely outplayed PSG in the first game at home, and I thought in the second game, but for the handball, we would have gone through and would have competed at their expense. I think we were close, but obviously not close enough. I think it's a great test of the club. As I say, I think it's a big test for Eddie Howe. It gives him an opportunity again to see the squad that he's got, and how that squad can perform in European football. I think there's been a bit of a criticism of Eddie at times among certain sections of our fans because of loyalty. And this is again a chance for Eddie to show that if he does have loyalty in his squad, that he's got that loyalty because he thinks they can perform at the highest level. And if they failed in the Conference League next season, if that's where we end up, that's when the club hierarchy would look and go, Eddie, I think we need to look at the situation, and I think we need to reassess and look at the quality that we've got. I think it's a great opportunity. There's a finals in Poland in 2025, and there are some top clubs that will be involved in the conference in the later stages that you may come across because of the way the group stages. And Mitch is absolutely right. You just look at what West Ham have done in terms of being able to progress the football club, enjoy European football, and win a European competition. I think it was the first competition that they'd won since 1980.
Yeah.
Boy, did they enjoy it. And what would we give for being in a European final? You know, that's the way that you have to look at it. But we've got to have aspirations within our football club to be better than we currently are. And the only way to do it is to have that success in Europe. And I'm not one of these people who thinks, "Oh, right, you know, okay, well, you know, you're working for fourth place." Yeah, I want to win every game, and I think the team, whenever they go out, they're hoping that they can win, and they're trying to win every game. And sometimes it's not possible, but you've got to give it a shout. You can't just turn around. And I think Melly's being over cautious. I can understand where he's coming from in one respect. I don't think he's doing it and saying it because he's building himself up for a defeat in the cup final. I'm sure at the back of his mind he's praying that they win the FA Cup because he's a fan of his own club, and who wouldn't go to a final not hoping that they were going to win. So I think perhaps he's looking at it and going, well, look what Chelsea did. It was a blessing in disguise. It's given them the opportunity. Or perhaps he just doesn't want what they might think is below themselves, and maybe that's a bit of a mistake around that football club, you know.
Yep.
So
I'll get Melly on for a bit of entertainment over the summer recess, because it'll be interesting to hear what he says. We'll let him have the FA Cup, and we'll see what he comes up with. I want to read out this. Emmett sent us a poem. He's had to do an abridged version because he couldn't send it to us on Twitter. But he said, "In St James's Park, where dreams take flight, the magpie soared through day and night. Eddie Howe at the helm, a guiding star, as Newcastle United chased their destiny far. May the Geordie spirit forever soar in the echoes of St James's Park's hallowed door." Very good, that bearded meatballer, as he is on Twitter. Emmett, as he is in the chat. Thanks very much for that. Emmett, I booked the dentists today, and as you know, I am busy doing a poem a day, something I committed to with me mate. So I booked a dentist appointment today, and I've written about that. So here we go. This is my effort today. Appointment fixed, a few months wait. When that time comes, you'll know your fate. Time passes quickly in the blink of an eye. You arrive on time, breathe in and sigh. The sound of drilling, scraping and screams, paying the slaver, tears come in streams. Your number is called. You walk up the stairs, into the room with two nurses and chairs. Please take a seat, hands by your side. Let me examine. Please open wide. Letters and numbers mean nothing to me. Molars and sizes just want to be free. A clean bill of health, your teeth are real smashers. So always remember, look after your gnashers. What do you think, Mitch?
You've obviously not been to see me, mate.
Okay, as always, on a Friday night, I love to wake you up if you're going into some kind of deep comatose slumber with this. The day I met, where I asked you to send in photographs of you meeting somebody from Newcastle United, past or present, Mark Byers found an old photo on his Nokia. What about that?
My goodness.
Charles Insomnia and anybody?
Seb Bassong.
Seb Bassong, exactly, yeah. Looks like a nightclub, that. Adidas there as well. Mark rocking a nice Adidas top. But great photo, that, mate. Yeah, they did spend a lot of nights out in the Tyne when they were out and about, Charles and Seb, but a lot of their teammates as well. But if you've got a photo with you meeting somebody from Newcastle, past or present, send it in so I can hit the button. Done Donald says, was I filling in time to write that poem? Very good, mate. And Mitch's face says, Simon. Bill says, please tell Melly you don't choose the team you support. The team chooses you. It's where you were born and live. End of. Thank you, Bill. I'll pass that on. You can pass it on when he comes on the show. But yeah, make sure you write your poems down, Emmett. He says he's going to try and come up with a few more. It was very good, mate. Okay, we've got 5 or 6 minutes left. We'll have a quick chat about this young man. Here's his season stats. Yankuba Minte, 37 appearances, 22 games, just short of 2,000 minutes played, 19 years of age, right winger, season rating 8 out of 10, 11 goals, 5 assists, 38 chances created, 81 successful dribbles, and 175 duels won. 1 every 11 minutes. That was put up on Twitter this week. Sorry for the person who put it up there. I can't remember who put that up, but great to see it. And I think it proves a point to me, really, especially playing in that league and winning a trophy. This kid really should be kept and not loaned out, George. Would you agree, or would you like to see him go back out on loan, Yankuba?
No. I think I said when we were talking about him some time ago, if he's good enough, now's the time. I mean, you know, we're talking about a time when, I mean, Arsenal have been a pain in the backside the way they behave. Look at the average age of the Arsenal team compared to ours. We're the oldest average age in the Premiership, I understand. Well, if we're not going to turn that, well, we never will if we turn young men like that away. The important stat on there for me, compared to the other loanees that we've had, is the number of minutes he played. That's the important stat for me. All the others are good, but the important one is they actually let him play. Once they saw he could do something, they actually give him a game, and that's where our loan manager should be, knocking on doors and saying, "Hey, play them or send them home. Play them or send them home." But no, he's got to stay with Steve. He's good enough, and you've got to give him a chance. He never get a chance now, then he never will. And bear in mind, we're also looking at this lad Harrison from Manchester City, who's about the same age. You know, it would be criminal not to use somebody who's ours. He really is ours. Not to give him a chance. And now's the time.
Did cross my mind, Geordie Toontalk, that Slot, who's going into Liverpool, might have a look at him for Liverpool. Yeah, that did cross my mind.
Fine, that'll be £200 million, please.
Yeah, exactly. What's your thoughts, Mitch? Would you keep him this season? I know a lot's going to be decided by the cup final, and I think we got a gist of that from Eddie Howe today in another interview where he was talking about Richie and Dummett, and we have to see where we're at. If we've got Europe, it's going to mean one thing. If we haven't got Europe, it's going to mean another.
Two things we've got to bear in mind as levels is that the Dutch league, week in, week out, bar, you know, maybe 4 or 5 sides, aren't particularly good. It's not championship level at times. And we've seen the difference in levels today with our under-21s getting a thumping off of the A-League superstars. And so doesn't necessarily mean one translates directly into the other. However, the reports from Holland have been outstanding. Not just in terms of his playing, but in terms of his attitude and the way he's conducted himself. That's what you want to hear from a young man out on loan. And when it comes to the minutes played, my dad's absolutely right. He's earned those minutes played in one of the better teams in the top flight of the Dutch league. And so I certainly don't think he needs to be instantly dismissed back to the out on loan box. I think we need to have a real good look at him and say, how does he fit into our development now? Can he make an impact? You know, we've got 18, 19-year-olds turning up in the England squad, preliminary squad. So therefore, he has to be in the conversation. Absolutely has to be in the conversation. But maybe from our point of view as fans, just pump the brakes on the expectation a little bit. As somebody's just pointed out, how much did Man United pay for Anthony coming out of the Dutch league? Has he really looked that worth that amount of money? No. So it doesn't necessarily translate, but it tells me there's a skill set in there that put in the right direction, combined with the right mindset. There's a player in there, and he's ours. and we shouldn't be discarding that lightly.
And Benny says, as remember, we've got a manager that's got a track record of developing players into stars. That's right. That's why I went back and listened to the Eddie Howe interviews. And I think I made that point last week, Benny. You're right, 100%. He does like to bring on players, develop players who want to be developed. Just before I come to Steve on this, just want to say thanks to everybody for watching tonight. We hit 950 at one point. Those of you watching on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and on Facebook, jump over to the channel, hit nufc matters up on YouTube, and please hit the subscribe button. It is free. It costs you nothing. It's not annoying. Just hit the subscribe button. That does help us massively. So yeah, Minte, Ben Porter says, Minte is staying or going back on loan depends on Miggy leaving or not for me. Sounds coming out about Miggy potentially staying today. But again, a lot depends on the result tomorrow and whether we're in Europe, I think. But yeah, Minte, would you keep him, Steve?
Yeah, I'd keep him, definitely. We paid a lot of money for him. I mean, I think he cost us 7.5 million, and we immediately sent him out on loan. Unfortunately, none of those goals and assists that we had on that list were in a black and white shirt or in a Feyenoord shirt. That's probably the disappointment. But if it's part of his progress, then great. What I'd like to have seen was the Lone Rangers report on him. I'd like to know how many times Shola's watched him this season, for example.
Yeah.
I'd like to know what sort of feedback he's been given. If what Shola's seen in Yakuba Minte is then translated into, and I think he needs another season in the Eredivisie or in the Championship or lower, then I would be starting to ask questions, as I do over a number of players that we've had on loan over the years, over the last couple of seasons, certainly. I wonder at times what Shola's role is, other than slotting in for players who are on the sick, doing video calls with fans. I find it a very interesting role that he plays or doesn't play. It seems to be stuck halfway between the foundation, or in three ways: partly the foundation, partly something to do with players that go out on loan, and partly something to do with ambassadorial. He seems to sit in three camps at times. But our track record of players out on loan, and you look at Garon Krul, who is another player who, this is his second season on loan, and we're not seeing, certainly not hearing, about his development in the same way as Minte has taken off. And yet great things 2 seasons ago were shouted in the newspapers about him. Some of the players that played today, Steve, or it's probably last night now in Australia, but you know what I mean. Some of those players that were representing Newcastle in a black and white shirt today, we've read remarkable things about in the Chronicle on down reporting days, and then we've seen nothing else since. We haven't seen the development of those players in the way it is. So it's an area of the club that I have serious question marks about, and I'd be the first to say well done to the academy and well done to the backroom staff of the under-18s and under-21s if I was seeing the progress that was bringing players through. And I don't think we've got, for example, a bunch of youngsters who can slot in like Liverpool had when they went into the League Cup final or Carabao Cup final a couple of months ago, and were able to raise the game and raise their own game, but also raise the game of some of the top stars on the pitch at that particular time to get a win. And I think that's something that we've got to start to push. But if Minte can and is doing it in the Eredivisie and people think he can do it here, then he'll be part of the squad next season. It's as simple as that.
It is as simple as that, and it's 2 hours, gents. Even when we've got nothing to talk about, we still managed to find stuff to talk about. I want to wish Peacock all the best with Leeds. They've never won a playoff final. Hopefully, this is the weekend that they manage to do it. Just for you, mate. I hope you get promoted at the weekend.
We need another northern team in the Premiership.
We do. 6th attempt, Steve. You're right. This is the 6th attempt in a final. So good luck to them. Although I think part of us wants Southampton to go up so we can get rid of Ryan Fraser. Good luck to Mitch with the big reveal of the thumb. Let's hope that goes well. It's nearly the end of the show, but we do finish off with a little bit of Elliot. I once dated a foreign woman who was excellent at cleaning but rubbish at hoovering. She was a Slovak.
Oh. Oh.
I'm back
dear.
11 o'clock in the morning for Ben Jacobs, and I believe professionals will be around about 6 o'clock, Mitch. We haven't confirmed it, but 6 o'clock, I think, for me, Mitch and Stu. But keep an eye out on the socials, and we will stick things out on there. But that's it, lads. Thanks to Olivia and to Dave for coming on as well. Big thanks to them. Thanks to all the moderators, and thanks to you, especially for watching. Please, if you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter, hit the subscribe button on nufc matters on YouTube, and we will be back 11 o'clock tomorrow. Have a good weekend, lads.
Cheers and good luck, Olivia.
Yes,
Yes, good luck. Thanks, everybody.